Artists, last time I showed you how to draw the lines for your symmetrical cat. Well, today I'm going to show you a couple options for adding color. So you can either use crayons or you can use the marker painting technique shown in this video. So either gather markers or crayons, and let's get started. All right, so I still have my paper here from last time, and there's two choices really when you are adding color. You can use all crayon or even all marker just to color in. One thing to watch out for is if you're coloring in something that, remember the rule of symmetry, so you can see that especially on my dots here. If this dot was blue, then that blue dot was blue. Same with the eyes, right? So when you're coloring, of course, be careful of scribbling. If you feel like coloring around the outside of your cat, go ahead and do that as well. The other option, which I think is a lot of fun, is to use marker to paint. And so here's what you do. You take a marker and you're not going to just color it in. I know that. You can do that, but if you want to turn it into paint, this is how you do it. You take your marker, and I'm going to just do some red hearts. And instead of just coloring them in, you'll notice I'm using lines. Now these are what we call hatched lines. They're all lines that go in the same direction. They happen to be diagonal. You could make horizontal or vertical lines. I made all my hearts the same, but you could switch colors and make them different. All right, so maybe in here, instead of doing diagonal lines, I want to do horizontal. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my whole cat up with different kinds of lines, or you could use dots too. You don't have to be super perfect at doing this, because what we're going to do in just a moment or two, some of you might know the trick already, is add water to this. And when you add water, the ink, because this is not a permanent marker, will smear and almost turn into what looks like watercolor. Now, the thing is, the more lines you put on or ink that's on your paper, the brighter your colors will be. So without filling the whole thing in, of course, maybe this one I'll do some crisscross or cross-hatched lines. Cross-hatched just means you have at least two sets of hatching lines and they're crisscrossing like X's. And I'm not worried about this all being perfect. I am trying to stay in my lines, and I'm trying to make sure that there's enough ink. Now, when I get this part done, I'll show you what it all looks like. All right, so I have this is what it looks like when I've filled the whole cat with those different kinds of lines. You can see I've used spiral, I've used curvy lines, I even used crisscross, I've used curved. So now, once you have all of those lines, what you're gonna do is use a little bit of water, and you don't really need very much. I'm using a paintbrush to paint with, but honestly, you could even use your finger if you had to. You can see I've gotten some on my finger already. You can use Q-tips, cotton swabs, even a wet tissue would work. You might have to replace it if it starts to fall apart. So here's what you do. I'm going to show you on my heart here. You get a little bit of water, and I mean little, and you're going to use your paintbrush or whatever you're using to get the ink of the marker wet and let that spread the color. Now you may still see some of your lines, which is really kind of cool. Some colors will spread around better than others. I find the lighter colors spread less, so things like yellow and pink might not spread around just as much as darker colors like blue or purple. And it also sometimes depends on the type of markers that you're using, how well they spread. When you switch colors, rinse out your brush really good, or whatever you're using, and then go to a different spot on your paper. I'm not going to work on the green right now because I want that red to have a chance to dry, so going up to the face right now might be a better plan. You can see the yellow is a little bit lighter of a color, which is nice. You don't want all your colors to be super dark. Sometimes it's nice to have some of the colors be nice and neat. Make sure you're getting right up to the edges, that you're not just only painting in the middle. You honestly don't need to go over this a lot of times. A lot of people will say, well, I want this color to spread around more, and they keep trying to paint. And what ends up usually happening is they tear their paper, because paper, the more when it's wet, is weak. And if you keep painting in one spot over and over, it will rip or tear your paper. Sometimes even people end up with a hole in it. You'll notice I'm being very gentle. I'm spreading, letting that ink spread around. And also, I'm trying not to let it puddle. If I see a puddle, I immediately try to go over with my paintbrush and move that to a place that looks a little drier. All right, I'll show you what this looks like once I get it all painted. Okay, so this is what it looks like once you get everything filled in water. Remember, try to watch out for puddles. You don't want this to get overly wet and soggy. Let it dry, and then it's ready to go. Remember, you can do the background around your cat if you have time. It's not completely necessary if your cat is filling up the whole paper like mine. Remember, go ahead and use crayons or markers just to color it in too. That's also fine with me. I hope you've had fun making this project with me. Remember, put a picture of this on Artsonia, and until next time, goodbye.